Gentlemen.
Right.
Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to the Walker Report. I am the sports director, Bradley Walker. We are part of NGSC Sports, guys. Remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We will be joined momentarily by Tony Grier. We'll be talking about the NIL in college basketball. He is
Oh
trying
yeah.
to promote it for players to get more money. If you guys don't know who he is one of the original USF Bulls basketball players. He played in
Oh yeah.
the Amway, or not Amway, when it was the Yingling Center was called the Sun Dome back in the day when they
Mm.
first built that arena on the campus of USF. So he will be on
Oh,
momentarily. I haven't gotten a message from
heard of
him
it.
yet
Heard
that
of it.
he isn't coming
Oh,
on, but there is Tony right there
Hey,
as we
Tony.
speak.
Good evening, guys.
How's it going, buddy?
good evening, sir.
All
Good evening,
right.
sir.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Can we
New Year to
Happy New
you.
Year as well.
Happy
New
New Year.
Year, but okay.
can we still say that, or did we run out?
Wow, we can still say that. That's fine.
Yeah,
No, we can
I
still
mean,
say that.
Chinese New Year. Well, why not? Chinese New Year was just last week, so why not?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
It was.
I'm so glad to join you guys. I'm a minute or two late, but anyway, it's always good
No worries.
to chime in. I've done this before with Bradley, so always a pleasure, and certainly you others. It's great to meet you and be a part of this.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
to have you back, Tony, and always horns up as I'm looking forward. The basketball team, before we get into the NIL, both basketball, the men's team is doing very well this year. I actually have credentials to the final home game, and I'm super excited to go watch them play on senior night at the Yingling Center. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's been exciting. I've gotten a couple of games, and it's with the history of what the program has gone through in the last several years. It's amazing, and this is kind of a year that's kind of an interesting year because we have a new head basketball coach and a new head football coach, and a new CEO, as they call it now.
You got to meet him. You got to meet him. I saw that photo you sent me.
Yeah, yeah, I did, and he was probably 8 years old last time I saw him.
Yeah, who he's referring to, guys, is Rob Higgins, and Higgins has
Okay.
been kind of rooted in the Tampa Bay area for a long time. I think he's still head of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission that runs everything. I think they're still working on a deal to get the Rays a stadium deal. I don't know. From what I heard, the deal is ongoing between the Rays and, of course, Hillsborough Community College, which is where Raymond James is, and where the Bulls will be playing football for one more year, and then in 2027 they get the on-campus stadium. I'm so excited to go to be in that field when they open up that new stadium in 2027 in the fall. But yeah, Rob, Tony sent me a photo of. Well, I got to ask you, Tony, how was that? How was the press conference that I sent you the links to?
Well, I appreciate that, Bradley. I really enjoyed it. I was able to see some people I hadn't seen in a while, and the energy level overall in terms of how the university is moving in athletics, it's a powerhouse. I mean, there's so many great things that are happening. Of course, Booger McFarland was there, and of course, Derek Brooks and Rob Higgins all spoke. Of course, Coach Hartline spoke. The men's basketball team was on the road, of course, playing at Wichita State. But just a fabulous Q&A panel discussion about the current status of athletics and how NIL, and we'll just call anything in regards to paying players NIL because there's actually three parts to it. A lot of people don't know that. But it was very, very nice to hear it from the university side because every school has their own way of doing things. But there is one standard, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah, I know the men's team just moved into first place in the American if I'm not mistaken, with the win over Tulane the other night, they moved into
over Tulsa
overall in the conference, which is good. I know they're going to have a conference tournament. Every conference does before we go to obviously March Madness, and I don't know. I think it would be freaking cool to see USF in March Madness in one way, shape, or form. Anytime that it's exciting to see them, like we had 2-3 good years with Alex Golish getting to bowl games. We unfortunately lost to Old Dominion at the Cure Bowl this past year, but I think Brian Hartline's got something going. I'm waiting till April. I can't wait to get to the spring game to watch them, to see what kind of offense he's going to bring.
Brad, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm the resident Ohio State fan here, so I know a lot about Coach Hartline.
Right.
You're getting a good coach and Coach Hartline. I think I knew eventually he was going to be a head coach. I knew it was a matter of time. I knew he wasn't going to stick around and wait till they retired or got fired. I knew he was going to take a job at some point.
Yeah, I was impressed with his intensity. And, we've dealt with a number of coaches. I've probably gone to every press conference for a head coach, certainly even in football, over the last 15, 20 years. But he's impressive when he walks in a room. I mean, the guy, he's a physical specimen himself. And he spoke mainly about the character of the kinds of players that he's recruiting. He wants people to be able to feel like they're giving up something to come to USF versus just saying, hey, I want a place to go because it's Florida. So he's got the right attitude in terms of how they're going to go out and recruit players.
I like that. Everyone that I've heard has spoke about him has said that there's just a vibe to him that is different from the coaches in the past. And I don't want to dog on Coach Golish, but I was at the last home game when we won, and then he, said in the press conference after that he didn't know what he was doing, and then the next morning he's in Alabama. So I don't. I mean, he could have just come out. He could have just come out and said, "Guys, thank you. I appreciated my time here. I did very well with the program. I got the program out of the dark, from Charlie Strong and the coaches before me, Jeff Scott, and all of them. I got the program back to where it's, back to the elite part. And then I thank you, but I've got it's greener on the other side of the fence. So I'm gonna go coach Auburn, and I know I'm gonna pay more close attention to Auburn football this year because I was a huge Byron Brown fan. I want to see how he plays in the SEC because it gets a little bit bigger and faster in that conference compared to the American.
Other schools that I'm going to pay attention to real close. Auburn's one, and Brad, the other one is Memphis because they've got our boy Charles Huff.
Yes.
Well, that's a conference opponent. The Tigers.
That's going to be tough.
Well, speaking of their basketball team, it's cool to see Penny Hardaway. I have to admit, that was the first basketball game I ever went to was USF Memphis at the Yingling Center, and I'm like, oh my God, there's Penny Hardaway. That's Penny Hardaway.
Penny Hardaway.
So that was cool. Well, yeah, Tony, if you want to talk about the NIL, go right ahead. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, yeah, and thank you. It's really an interesting time. Before we touch on it, though, I just wanted to say, in regards to Golish, our former football coach, within 24 hours, he made some statements about, wanting to stay, and he wasn't really thinking about anything else and any other job. I think the reason he did that is because he had not had a chance to meet with his players. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to entertain things publicly until you have that conversation. He may not have made up his mind at that point, probably within 24 hours, as you say, but I'll give him a little respect. I'll give him a break on this one because I also think that any coach that's come through USF, when they move on, we like to think that they were bred at USF. In other words, we're basically cheering for one of ours at Auburn. So that's the way I look at it. And so I'm an SEC fan. I'm now an Auburn fan, but because of his ties to USF. But that's just how I am. So anyway, that's what I said.
Right, of course.
But as far as NIL, it's really interesting. USF has their philosophy. They're dealing with some stuff that a lot of other schools are dealing with, in that these young athletes, these student athletes, are in a position now with revenue share to get XYZ per month from the universities. Before that, name, image, and likeness, and they had, kind of a booster program called collectives, which was basically you can put money into a slush fund, and then you could pay athletes accordingly. So that got cleaned up, and collectives will probably go away. So now it's just NIL, which is name, image, and likeness, which basically is an independent way for an athlete to go out and market themselves, make a little money on the side, a lot of money in some cases. And then, of course, the revenue share is what makes it kind of like, you can say, athletes get paid now. Student athletes do, because of that. And each player has to negotiate their own take. And a lot of guys are going in without representation, without agents. They're using their AAU coach, or some people, as Rob Higgins says last night, the people getting bad advice. They're people who are actors trying to serve as mentors, and really the only thing they want is that potential 20% that they can get as a liaison to the negotiation with a school and a student athlete. So that needs to be cleaned up a little bit, because myself and some people that I am involved with, we've built relationships with people. I've had parents call me even before NIL, just wanting to make sure that they're making the right decision and the right choice. And so now that there's money involved, it's a whole different ball game. And a lot of these kids are getting money, even if it's 15, 20 grand a month, 10 grand a month. I mean, what would you have done at age 18 or 19 with 20 grand a month? Come on. The management of those
think
funds,
about it.
that's a problem.
I have an example. Look at and Brad, you can back me up on this. Jaden Rashada, who was going to go to Florida, and he got lied to about his NIL from the Gators. Ended up going to Arizona State. That didn't work. Then he went to, he went to Sacramento State, because they said, oh, we'll give him X, Y, and Z amount of money, NIL money. And now I believe he transferred again to a group of 5 school, because they guaranteed him that he was going to start.
Well,
that's my example.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to do that. A couple of years ago, coaches were saying, they're not really a part of the process. It's just something between the school and the student athlete. But of course, as of last year, July 1st, the schools now, can treat these student athletes as employees, if you will, and they can negotiate their take. And NIL is a fascinating thing, because there's certain student athletes who have very, very high-end social media personalities. They got 1 million followers, and
Livy Dunn.
If I own a company that, if I own a used car company, and I can go out to the university and give a guy, a little bit of money to represent, my company, my brand, it's a win-win for everybody, because they have influence, and that's really what it's all about.
And at the end of the day, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Livy Dunn, Paul Skeens.
There was that punter at Oklahoma about 5 or 6, maybe it was probably closer to 10 years ago now.
How does he play like Skeens went up, but a lousy team like Pittsburgh?
And
That's that's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah, you're right. But still, I mean, I just using it as an example. I think because he is a good pitcher. He was good in college, and he is a good pitcher for even though he plays on a second-rate banana team like the Pirates. But still,
Well, I was talking about he probably made a lot of money in college though.
true.
Skeens and Livy Dunn.
well, there was a punter at I forget. He ended up
A
retiring. He never
punter?
went pro, but he ended up he's doing a YouTube thing full time, and I watch his videos every now and again. He's pretty funny, but
Hmm.
he
Oh,
had to choose.
talking about Pat McAfee.
No, not McAfee.
No.
No, because McAfee's been out of the NFL for
And
more than
he didn't
10
have
years.
YouTube wasn't a thing when he was a punter. But anyway, and he ended up having to choose between his YouTube stuff
Oh
and college football.
no, I know who you're talking about now. He was at UCF and he wanted to be a kicker and he wanted to do YouTube. And this is before NIL was a thing. And
Yeah.
they made him choose.
And he chose the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He never
I know exactly who you're talking about. Destroying, I think is the
Yeah.
guy's name.
Yeah, I remember that, and that was a fascinating time for him. And you kind of felt for him because you felt bad that he couldn't go out and do something and market himself. And it was weird. Isn't it amazing how things have changed from that time, which
Yep.
wasn't too long ago,
Yeah.
to now? I mean,
Well, here's what I tell people. I'm like, could you imagine if Johnny Manziel was in college right now?
No.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can go back now. I'm going back 40 years, but I remember I walked into the USF bookstore and there's a T-shirt with my picture on it, and they're selling it. And
Oh. Wow.
you never thought about anything about making money from it because
right.
No.
it's different. But
Well, the thing that the one I know the YouTube punter thing, that's really silly and all that. But the one that really made me want some kind of representation for the student athletes, this is about it's been 20 years now. There's an offensive lineman at Iowa, and I know it's not basketball, and you're the basketball guy, but um the he was playing in a golf tournament. I forget if it was charity or whatever, but they had a bunch of Iowa kids at this golf tournament, and he hit a
What
hole
was
in
his name?
one. And on that particular hole, it's like a super tough hole, and if you hit a hole in one, you got $1 million check. But he couldn't receive the money because he was a student athlete. And so because of the way the NCAA bylaws were written, he wasn't eligible to receive the money because then he would be paid to play a sport. And so
Yeah.
he couldn't, and that really bothered me. Like, especially like, and obviously I don't remember his name, so he didn't go on to do anything in the NFL, or if he did, if he even went on to play in the NFL, he wasn't like an all-timer. He's an offensive lineman, and only the great ones get remembered. So,
Yeah. Tristan
it's really
Wirfs.
it's really frustrating to me as someone, because I would have been like 15 or 16 at the time when this happened. I was thinking about college, and I was thinking about, if I went to school and, if I went to school and I was playing a sport and, I got an opportunity to do something else in another sport and I couldn't make money from that sport. And I'm like, the thing that always the thing bothered me is like, if you were some computer whiz and you wrote an algorithm that revolutionized your computer stuff, you could make money off that, and nobody would say anything. But you're a baseball player, you're a basketball player, you're a hockey player, you're lacrosse or whatever you might play. You can't make any money while you're a student athlete, and that always bothered me. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there are ways around it, and we all know about the under the backroom doors and the
Yeah.
handshakes with a pile, like that manila envelope didn't just have a toothbrush and toothpaste in it. We all
No.
know that. But you know it just, I always wanted it up front and honest, and everybody, it being front facing.
Yeah,
And for like, like maybe you can tell us about your college experience and what it was like being in school and being a student athlete. And I know this was 40 years ago. You know, I imagine that, at a school, a smaller school like USF, they didn't have maybe as much resources as maybe a Florida or a Florida State. 40 years ago, it must have been difficult to be a student athlete at that time. You shed some light on that for us.
well, the challenges were there to do better. I'll never forget my sophomore year. This is before Lee Rose came in. We had a year where we didn't win many games. And I think the last 2 games of the year we won. And when the season ended, our coach had been fired and the assistant took over. But at that point, we didn't know who our next head coach would be. And I'll never forget, there was a gentleman who was associated with the program came to me and said, "You're not coming back here." Now, again, this is 1979. He said, "You're going to North Carolina. You're going to Virginia. You're going wherever you want to go." And, I looked at him kind of funny because, loyalties were, hey, this is where we got our break and this is where we're going to stay. And of course, I never left and stayed. And then they hired Lee Rose. And of course, we had the 2 years in the Sun Dome. But it was interesting. It would have been difficult to leave for a lot of reasons. I had friends and teammates that I got to know and everything. And the Sun Dome was being built. So that was kind of the lure that got us to go there in the first place. And then so we ended up staying. But it was just different back then. I mean, we didn't have money.
Yeah.
I think we had two or three guys that had cars. I didn't have a car. I didn't even drive. So, but they made sure I got wherever I needed to go. I had a ride everywhere I needed to go. But yeah, I mean, it was just different. Now, guys have cars. They do a deal with the dealership, and they have a brand new car delivered to their dorm, to their apartment, to their house in this case. And times are different. So I'm happy. But back to your point, though, about how this all turns into something of value today, the transfer portal is what's being impacted by all of this money talk. Okay, because if a guy wakes up one morning and the coach looks at him funny, he can then wait until the open period, go in during that 30-day period, put his name out there, and maybe get a hit. And the first thing out of his mouth is, "What do you got for me? I averaged 15 a game, 10 rebounds. We made the tournament. I'd like this, I'd like that." And some of them get it, but now you do know half don't get anything. They go into the portal. Thousands of guys, lose out, and they burn bridges, and then they're left out in the cold. And that's what came up in yesterday's discussion over on campus with the other guys.
Now, how many of those guys do you think are? I don't know how to say this in a delicate manner, but how many of those guys that are left in the portal do you think would have a chance, would have been better served staying where they were? Or do you think that it's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation? Like if you stay, you're still not playing, so you might as well enter and see what you can get.
Right. You can take a step down. You can go from, say, a major to a mid-major, where then maybe you can start, if you're in football, you could be the starting quarterback. If you can be the starting quarterback, at a smaller school, and guys have gone to the NFL from there, and in basketball the same, or take a step up. So it really depends on the situation. They're gonna have to change how the portal relates to the academic school year and the roster building for a coach coming in. Once they fix that, they'll put a cap on the money you can make. The universities have the cap, and the revenue share is $20 million. And some schools get that much out there and others don't. So in the next 2 to 3 years, this whole process will be changed a little bit, still to the benefit of the student athlete, but it's the wild, wild west right now.
I'm sure.
Not to cut you off, I have another example. So I went to a smaller school in Florida, UNF. And one of our guys that was on the basketball team was there to my senior year. And after I graduated, he decided that he was going to go on the portal. And they tried to convince him to stay, but he ended up choosing to go to transfer to USF.
Uh-huh.
And because he has, I guess, he had family in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm glad he did, because I got to see a few of his last college games.
Years ago, that was the way you could transfer. You had to sit out a year ordinarily. You couldn't
Remember
leave.
that?
Yeah, you'd have to get a release. Then the other school would sign you on, and then you'd redshirt for the year. But if your mother took a job, or your father lived here or there, or if she got sick and you needed to be there or here or there, you could get away with it. And I think a lot of athletes negotiated hardship cases where they could then play right away.
Right.
Of that. And that's what they were doing back then.
Yeah.
And you could create that. You could make that up. I mean, that didn't have to be true. I mean, there are, all kind of scenarios. But again, I mean, I know you guys have talked about this before. Something will have to change, because everyone says because coaches can come and go, why can't student athletes? That is true. But kids nowadays don't have the discipline, and they're not taught things that they need to be taught, the hardships that go into becoming successful in life. And as soon as things get tough, they're looking at the portal. So something has to change.
What's the word I want to say? Ugh, words. Conversely, sometimes you have to make your own luck. I think about Joe Burrow. If he had just stayed the course at Ohio State, he would have spent 4 years at Ohio State and never played a snap. So, I think that there's something to be said for, having the option to make your own luck, as it were, to have an opportunity to go out there and compete at the highest level in your particular field. And I think, like, if you find out that you get to school and you're 2 years in and it's way harder than you thought it was going to be, and you want to transfer somewhere else, to do something else, if you find out that you're not in love with one, and we expect these kids to make life-changing decisions, and at 17, 18 years old, and they're stuck in that career for the next 40 years. I see that you yourself, you ended up becoming a filmmaker, some 40 years on after you were done playing basketball. You're able to follow your second dream. Your first love was basketball, and your second love was filmmaking. So you're able to follow your dreams there at maybe a little later on in your life than you were maybe expecting, but giving them the opportunity to keep making decisions and find their niche. I think it's really important. Say they haven't been taught, they haven't learned any. You're 18 years old. What do you know? And you look to the people that are supposed to be guiding you, and half the time they don't know. They can't make the decision for you.
I think the revenue share was created in order to keep players in one place. In other words, if every Division I school is paying XYZ, then your numbers are going to be the same, because it doesn't matter if you leave to go here or there. The NIL is what makes it difficult. What they should do is put a cap on when you can then get NIL money. In other words, maybe you have to be at a school for 2 years before you can cash in on NIL. So now you're just getting your normal paycheck from the school from revenue share, and it's capped, so you can't exceed a certain amount. And then 2 years in, you get the NIL opportunity. You graduate to it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. What do you think?
I had a proposal. I proposed this to the gentleman on the panel last week, is creating a third body. Congress drafting
Right.
legislation and creating an NIL, a department that handles the NIL. It takes it away from the NCAA. It takes it away from the schools, and the schools put the NIL money goes from the schools collect it, and then they report it to this third independent body, and
Hmm.
then they distribute the money out to the individual student athletes at each individual school. And you have each school has a liaison that works, the works with the students, works with the school, and works with and then is a rep, there each school has a representative that's designated from the NIL trustee, whatever that body, we will come up with a name for it later. The to be named later body. Um, and then they each each region, you have the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, the Rockies, and then the West. Each region has a regional office, and they interface between the schools, the NCAA, and the independent body.
Well, NIL though is separate from revenue share. The universities don't
Right.
have anything to do with it. The NIL is a really independent way for a student athlete to go in and cash in. So that money goes directly to the student athlete. If you're saying then that money should go through that other entity and or the school and then is paid out to the student athlete, now you're getting back to the restrictive thought process that they're trying to get away from and give guys and gals a chance to benefit from their marketability.
Right. Well, it feels like a lot of that, and we talk about, and this is just my, not really understanding how the whole process works. So appreciate that. My understanding is that a lot of these schools are paying the NIL out, so taking it away so that it's not tied to any individual school. Because there was a couple of weeks ago, there was it was a linebacker, and I forget, it was either at Old Miss, and I think he was at Old Miss, and he wanted to go back, and he transferred to Old Miss, and they offered him X amount of dollars, and then LSU was rumored that they were going to offer more money, and it may
Yeah.
have been the other way around. I can't really remember because this whole thing is muddied, but and so he was
Yeah.
thinking about leaving Ole Miss and going to LSU. Well, if you had a third party and a more independent body that was in control of that money and distributed that money out, then you wouldn't have these schools being able to offer, or the boosters, or whoever's making these offers to these kids to lure them away from the school that they've already committed to.
Well, again, I think that they separate the two because they want to give the student athletes some freedom because the 12th man on the basketball roster, the 40th man on the football roster isn't the same as, a starter. And so the NIL name, image, and likeness is just a separate thing that, came about in 2021, and it's moving fast. And then, of course, revenue share kicked in, a year or so ago, which is different, which now gives a parent a comfort zone knowing if their kid earned the right to play Division One, they're going to be compensated. And that's everybody, not just the best players. But
Okay.
I hear
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah. There should be a cap. I just think there needs to be some kind of restrictive measure that goes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Like you could what do you're talking about a cap. You could have a cap on the revenue sharing where each each um each group, you have starter, second string, third string, fourth string, and so on down the line. Each one of those groups gets X amount of dollars, so on, and then the NIL money is just up for grabs.
Right.
And
So
so,
you're saying the money's the same. The money's the same everywhere with revenue share, basically.
yeah,
That way, if you go to
Yeah,
Duke or if you go to Virginia, if you go to USF, you know if you're a sophomore, you're a junior, you're getting X, Y, Z.
and it's based on
Mhm.
your place on the depth chart. If you're a starter, let's say if you're a starter, you make 100 grand. No matter where you go to school, it's capped at
Right.
100 grand. And then second string gets, say 70,000. Third string gets 50,000. Fourth string gets 25,000. And
Mhm.
then your NIL money is whatever you can earn. Name, image, and likeness. And that the thing I thought about the way I saw NIL, the name, image, and likeness, was things like, being able to license your name out for a video game, licensing out being able to win a prize in a golf tournament, being able to have a YouTube channel, stuff like that.
Right.
That's what I felt like the NIL was, the NIL monies should be for, and not for poaching, not so that the big schools can poach the best talent from.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then you have the collectives. Collectives are about to go away. Collectives were created some years ago where boosters can then put money into a pool, a slush fund, and then that money can then be funneled any way they choose. So the reason the NCAA did the revenue share was to get rid of the slush fund
Right.
collectives. USF still has a collectives. I don't think they're going to be around much longer. All due respect to those who run it. But things are changing, but I do like the idea of keeping the money the same no matter where you go, restricting the transfer portal and the activity there. So now everybody's equal, and the only way you can make more money would be NIL opportunities. And of course, you run into a situation then a guy would want to go to UCLA instead of Florida State because Hollywood, there may be some things that go into his career path. He wants to be an
Yeah.
actor, so there's some discrepancies there too, but rightfully so because each market has some advantages.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid trying to make a decision that's going to affect their lives for the next 40 or 50 years. So I think that we need to get, it's all about getting a handle on, how do we get these kids, and unfortunately, you might be committed to being, let's say you want to be a lawyer, and you're like, you got a football scholarship you got a football scholarship, and you're looking at, Michigan, Ohio State, Harvard, and you're like, well, I'm a 3-star prospect. I could go to Michigan, I could go to Ohio State, I could go to Harvard, and what okay, but I'm gonna be a lawyer, and I'm gonna so I'm gonna go to Michigan. I'm gonna start out at Michigan. I'm gonna roll in Michigan. Michigan's a great law program, and they have a good football program. So I'm gonna go to Michigan. Well, you get in 2 years, and you're like, I have no desire to be a lawyer now. I really
Yeah.
don't want to be a lawyer anymore. This is boring. I hate every minute of this class. I'd much rather be, you know, a dance major, and you want to transfer somewhere else, and you shouldn't lose the right to keep playing just because you made a
Right.
decision at 18 years old, and you're not in love with that. If you want to keep playing, you're stuck playing. You're stuck staying at Michigan for the next 2 years, and being at Michigan. No, 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 don't get me wrong. Michigan has a great drama program, and you could transfer to the drama program. But like you said, maybe you want to go to UCLA, you want to be out in Hollywood, you want to be closer to the stars because and because the opportunities are different. I don't think we
Yeah.
should take that right away from kids to be eligible to play in the same. Because not everybody,
Not at
not
all.
everybody has a hardship. Sometimes they just change their mind.
Yeah.
And they decide that, this career, I can't see myself being a lawyer for the next 25 years. So, those are the things that I think about. I see Brad with a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you were talking about oh no, I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, when it comes to uh, different sports, how do they pay revenue share? That's that I lost my train of thought. With the revenue share, I know and I'm getting ready to start going back to USF baseball games within the month. I know when I sat down because again, unlike football games, we're in the press box at Raymond James Stadium. Well, baseball, you're in the crowd with the fans. So a lot of times I'll bump into parents whose kids are out there playing baseball for USF. So I guess my question is, how does the revenue how does that work with if you're not a basketball player and you're not a football player, which I know, trust me, I know from being around the university almost 10 years now, that's the major money draws is the basketball program and the football program at USF. So where does the baseball, softball, lacrosse, those athletes, the tennis players, the golf players, the volleyball program that the USF just created, where Tony, where do they all fall? I mean, is it evened out with the revenue share, or how do they determine that? Was my question.
Football and basketball are at the high end.
Okay.
At 99% of the schools.
Got it. Okay.
Then the other schools fall in line, and the schools get the revenue share monies, and they can then equally spread it amongst those top sports, which are the revenue generating sports. The others then benefit. It varies school to school. That's the argument that schools have now, because certain schools have great programs, volleyball teams, golf programs, tennis, et cetera, et cetera. So each school then can prioritize more so than others based on what they know their history is. So that's an individual thing. But football and basketball pretty much, and baseball, run the show when it comes to revenue share.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've covered USF, and I know the two big draws are obviously in the fall, it's football. In the winter or spring, it's basketball. Mm-hmm. And everyone, you're either at Ray J or you're at the Yingling Center watching these young kids try to get to the next level. Obviously, that's the major goal. Now, we all know, what is it, like 2% of college athletes actually make it to the next level.
Yeah, something like that.
But I was just curious on how that all worked, because there are some universities out there that have great baseball programs, that have great softball programs, that are, like Oklahoma and Texas, I think their softball programs are top in the country every year. They're in the World Series, and in baseball, you have the Dukes and the teams like that are always in the World Series at the end of the year playing for the national championship. The Gators, obviously being local here in Florida, the Gators there for a while. So I was just curious, Tony, how that was all played out. But I understand. I mean, obviously we all know that most of the universities are basketball and football are the big draws, the big money revenue sports in retrospect. Most of them are.
Because in my part of the country, it's the same thing here. College football in the fall up until just after Thanksgiving, and then college football takes over. Here, baseball over here, college baseball doesn't even show the back page of the sports section.
Yeah.
In the Northeast over here, I mean, I don't know where you are, but in the Northeast here, college baseball is pretty much, well, I hate to say, but non-existent.
Well, yeah. I mean, Oklahoma's softball program, I'm sure, is getting a high number. And again, it's negotiable per student athlete. And I would like to add, too, the management of these monies is going to be an issue because that money comes and goes quick when it's a family that has never had much and they don't understand if they get a check for $20,000 in the mail.
I'll take it.
It's tough. So there's so much. This is a great time to get back involved, to be involved, and to ask these questions, because Rob Higgins didn't have all the answers last night. I asked a question about, what about seniors who don't graduate, still have a semester or a year left, have been great student athletes, done very well. When does their revenue share end? And is there any monies going towards them completing their degree work moving forward? And that's something that's being discussed now.
Yeah.
And they're not sure. USF has been doing very well with it lately, which is good.
Right.
But there are other schools that just don't do anything. So, it just depends.
I wanted to throw a school in there for softball. University of North Florida. We, for the first time in our program history last year, we made the tournament, and we got knocked out, and I think the super regionals. And before last year, we had never made the NCAA tournament in softball.
So I would just want to clarify Brad's question because I'm curious now. Does each sport get a certain amount, or is it based on what they generate? So let's say you take your the school he mentioned, Alex mentioned, North Florida, like if the softball team generates more revenue than their football team, how does that work?
Well, okay, so I can I jump in for a second? We, University of North Florida, right now we don't have a football team, but I've heard rumors that we might be getting one soon. But our top revenue share, I would have to say, off of going there for 4 years, is probably basketball, men's specifically, because women's you get they made women's basketball games free to get in because nobody goes, which is sad.
That is sad.
And that determines how the money is then spent on the back end. If a program is doing well in one particular sport, then they can then negotiate a larger share of that 20 million each year, and you kind of know going in. So, I mean, that's why a lot of these guys are moving around in the transfer portal, and they're staying in the SEC, or they're going to the ACC in basketball, or they're doing this or doing that, the Big East, because you kind of know, and it's an interesting time. But again, I'll stay with the management side of funds. I think it's important to help these student athletes understand that their NIL experience, they're going to have to be savvy negotiators. They're going to need to know exactly how to appeal to the market and what they need to do. Some people don't know how to brand themselves. I'm helping some student athletes now create a portfolio so that they can show the world that this is what they do best. There's some athletes that don't really know what their strong points are. They base it all on stats. You don't have to do that. Look at the Twins. Look at what they've done. There's two gals that did what they did. And some of the others, they just have a scheme. If you've got a good scheme and a good social media following, you can go in and negotiate some money for yourself.
Oh, the Cavender twins.
I forget they are. Yeah, I forget their name, but they're ranking in some bucks, millions.
That's good for them, man. Well, the other thing about the NIL is taking that money that you make and investing it wisely so that you can live off of it.
Yeah, well, last night they were talking about 30% of it should go towards in a savings. Again, financial management is important. So something's going to happen. There'll be changes. We'll have changes for the next 5 to 10 years. But I'm just happy as a former student athlete that I can now wake up and be proud and happy to know that young men and women who worked hard, who have dreams of getting degrees, but at the same time are committing themselves for 2, 3, 4 years, are being able to compensate themselves by way of their skill set and their good behavior, because there are restrictions in their revenue share. I mean, if you aren't in trouble and you live the good life and do well academically, their incentives and benefits. And it's just a good time for college athletics. So I just hope they fix it. And so that way schools aren't hurt. The thousands of people that go into the portal that don't find a home, that burn bridges and can't go back. Something's going to have to happen. There's more people hurt right now, or as many being hurt than being helped through all of this.
No, and I agree. I think since, there were a lot of people out there, and maybe you can justify this too, that when the NIL was created, everybody thought, well, now, wait a minute. Now, these kids get a 4-year ride. They don't have to pay for anything. And some of them come from backgrounds where they never had money, or they had very little money with their family, whatever situation they come from. And now that they can use this and they can make revenue for themselves, and I agree with you, Tony, too, they need to have someone to show them how to put that money away, because I think a lot of them, they follow the trends that are going on social media that, hey, I got to go buy that $1 million house. I got to go buy that $75,000 automobile, or I got to get that handbag, or whatever it might be. I think someone needs to tell these kids, hey, if you put that money away and you invest it the right way, if you don't make it to the next level, you have something to fall back on and get your degree, stay in the school. I know some people get their degree in 2 or 3 years, but stay and get your degree, see if that can turn into something. But yes, I think someone needs to teach these kids, because again, the generations have changed. I think depending on what generation you grew up in and how you were raised is the way you're going to be. If you were brought up in a way that your family was a paycheck blue collar worker, they had to put money away, you got to go do things only when certain times of the year, you'll save your money. You'll pinch your pennies, as they say. But if you grew up in where money wasn't really a problem, and you go, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that because I could spend that money because my parents or whoever will give me more. So, yeah, I think someone, as you said, Tony, someone needs to help them save it, invest it the right way, and go, hey, if I leave college, I came into college, I was kind of broke, and now I'm leaving college with money in my bank account, and now I can take some time after I get my degree to, I won't go broke after I leave school.
Well,
in a way. I mean, maybe I'm saying that incorrectly, but
no,
that's just how I look at it.
You're saying it right. There are more there's a lot of student athletes that'll make more money in this current climate than they'll ever make in their life, or they won't be pros. So, now you've got the mid-range guys who are going to maybe have a shot, but probably won't have a career, and they're making $250,000 a year. Yeah. So if you can do that for 2 or 3 years, that's a good thing. So, let's keep that, that 3% who make it to the pros. I mean, that's true. So, but the management of it, some guys, Booger McFarland talked about not being able to balance a checkbook at 18. Derek Brooks made comments about, being frugal and, every dime, and the Pell Grants and all, we all got that. And, if you ran out of money on a Friday, you waited, you didn't have your training meal on weekends. You couldn't wait till Monday morning. You get your training meal, so it's real stuff, but you don't really hear a lot about that. But so I was happy to hear those guys talk about it, bring it out, because 18 and 19-year-olds will need to learn money management skills in order for this to work for them.
Yeah, I agree. When I was at the Cure Bowl, when USF played Old Dominion, I was getting off the elevator, and there is Rob Higgins and Derek Brooks. And I even know that I am a Patriots fan. I grew up a Buccaneer. I was in Tampa Stadium, not Raymond James, but Tampa Stadium when it was the old sombrero. And Derek Brooks is the epitome of what a linebacker is, and stayed with the Bucs his whole career. Coming out of Florida State, he was a Knoll. He came in, he revolutionized that defense, and of course the Tampa 2, Monty Kiffin and Tony Dungy. It just didn't work out. They get rid of Tony. They bring in John. Gruden leads them to the Super Bowl. But yeah, I pinch myself that I didn't stop and shake his hand and get a photo with him. I pinch myself I didn't get to say, "Hey, Mr. Brooks, may I have a photo?" And I still pinch myself today that I'm like, I could have just 5 seconds asked him if he would have done that. But I've seen Derek. I know Derek's part of the USF program now. He's working with Rob directly. I think the main point with Higgins is they're trying to get the Bulls out of the American into a Power Four. I know with UCF 2 years ago going to the Big 12, I think that's when USF was going to go there too. We had a bad season, and then Jeff Scott came and we won one game during the COVID year. But
2020.
I think Rob Higgins is trying to get the program out of the American to get it to where you won't have Alex Golish leaving. Because if you have the Power Four, you're not going to leave. You're going to stay and build a program like Dabo Sweeney, or back in the day, even though I'm not a huge Florida State guy, Bobby Bowden was the epitome of a college football coach, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm more Steve Spurrier because I'm a Gator, but I'm more Steve Spurrier. But Bobby Bowden was the epitome. He stayed with FSU so he got fired, and I think they, in a way, did him wrong with Jimbo Fisher. But that's a different story. But I'm just saying, if you can get out of the American. Nothing against the American Conference. I'm not dodging the conference at all. I just think that they're trying to get USF out of the out of the bottom 5 into the top 4, right. And then we'll see where the team goes. But
the schlub conference.
Well, yeah, and I also think too, if you get into a bigger conference, you're going to get more TV money. I don't think USF really has a TV deal. I don't even know if we're even on TV unless we're on ESPN. I don't even think USF has.
I think you're some TV, but you're not like major exposure because you're still like a second banana conference. So
I agree, and I mean I agree with that. That's like I said. I mean there are, that's what I think Higgins and them are trying to work on, because you guys, Wichita State, they have a great baseball team and basketball team. They haven't had a football team since the early 90s. Yeah. So they don't even have a football program at Wichita State. Not a lot of people know that. But they don't even have a football team.
I think the Big 12, I think the Big 12 is where they need to go. I mean, I agree. As you said, Bradley, but they need to Big 12 would solve that problem. Then you've got the UCF, the war on I-4 again.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
Now we're talking big time stuff now. Then you get the big boys rolling in, so that's what should, and I'm sure they're working on it. I mean, of course, if you can win the American Athletic every year, get the automatic bid, then at least you guarantee yourself being in the tournament. So, at least in basketball, the way.
Well, true, because in football, you had Tulane make it to the college football playoff, and they won the American in football. And they are just as good as they are in basketball too. Actually, when I went to Gibbs High School in St. Pete, and I forget who's the quarterback. Sean King went to Tulane, and then he became a Buccaneer. Okay. I was a freshman when he was a senior, so we got to see him play, and then he left and went to Tulane, and then left Tulane, and then was drafted by the Buccaneers, which was cool to see him play in a Buccaneer uniform. And I got to see his brother. His brother thought he was as good as his brother was, but Cedric was not as good as Sean was. Nothing against him if Cedric's out there watching, but I'm just saying he wasn't as good as Sean was. But yeah, I think, like you said, Tony, I think if you can win, like if USF, which it looks like, unless barring anything majorly happens in the next month or two, they'll get the automatic bid out of the American to get into the tournament. And I really, the basketball program was kind of down when Coach Raheem passed away. And I can remember that day that they announced that he had passed away. And I'm like, dude, the guy was like one of the nicest people you could ever meet. I haven't got a chance to meet the basketball coach yet now, but I got to meet Coach Raheem, and I'm like, oh my Lord, like what what's going on that and then he passed away from surgery. It's like then the basketball program was quiet, and they bring this guy in, and all of a sudden now it's like it's clicking, and it's like all of a sudden now USF in some cases they're unbeatable. I mean, it's so cool. I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to March 8th, senior night.
Yeah.
If I can just say one thing, Coach Hodgson, the current head coach Brian Hodgson is really everything that it looks like he is.
Okay.
USF really lucked out with getting him, and the way it worked out, because he's got a history that he needs to succeed at a higher level. Of course, everybody thinks if they continue to win, then he'll look for something else, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's the case, but we certainly hope that they continue to succeed and that he stays with the program. But he has just done a remarkable job. Now, here's what people are facing in the college landscape. Guys are taking the jobs, and because of the transfer portal, you can convince your older players, the guys that are seasoned that you've had before, to come with you. So the first year or two are going to be good years because you're bringing in guys that know you know them. Mm-hmm. What happens after? That's the key. That's what USF and all schools are going to deal with now. There's going to be a drop off. You hope not, but a lot of times the success that they get early on is because these are guys that the coach brought with them, and they ran a lot of other guys out and brought them in, and they won some games. And that's what's been happening. We'll see what happens with USF.
Perfect example. I went to UNF for 4 years, and all 4 years, our coach was Matthew Driscoll. And the year after I graduated and moved home, he took a assistant coaching job at Kansas State. And this year we're not doing so well. We have, I think, 6 wins. But it's not going to matter because everybody in our conference makes the conference tournament, because the conference next year is going to look completely different because half the teams are leaving.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think that's going to be an issue with programs. You're going to see that. That's why the competition level is so strong right now. Guys are coming and going. They're following their coach, and teams are really strong. There's a lot of parity. It's exciting to watch football and basketball at the collegiate level right now because the level is just so high in terms of intensity. Guys are playing for revenue share money and NIL money. If a guy does, if he's on ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, and he has a wonderful night, 30 points, 15 rebounds, that could be turned into a few $100,000 in NIL money.
At least,
or even a few. We talked about those kids. If you come from a poor family that never had a lot, and you could a few $1,000s over the course of 4 years. If you made $3,000, if you made $3,000 in school just by playing football, you make, you have your collective money, your NIL money. If all you ever were was a practice guy and you played 4 snaps and some mop up time over the course of 4 years, and you got your degree, and you came out with $10,000 or $15,000, you put that money away and never touch it. And in 25 years, you've got enough money to live on, to retire on. Based on, you get a decent job at a say you went to school for journalism and you did your 4 years, you made a couple $1,000s a year, and you come out of school with $10,000, $15,000. You put that money away. You got hired on at your local news station, and you did that thing for 20 years, and they paid 6% in, and now you're 45, and you got $1.5 million to retire on. You retire early and be set for life.
Yeah.
It really sets up our student athletes who aren't going, who are never going to go pro in sports, and know they're not going pro in sports, but they just like to be out there on the football field and hang out with their buddies because everybody else is in the football program. They're getting a partial, even if they're getting a partial scholarship. They get a couple, they get their face on TV, and they get a couple $1,000 extra dollars from the university, and next thing you know, you know, you're a journalism major, you got a job on your local news station, and you're set for life. So
Yeah.
I think I think it's great I think it's great. I
Well,
can't wait to see. I can't wait to look. If I had a crystal ball and see how it all works, I can't wait to see what the next 10, 15, 20 years holds for.
If I had one, I'd give it to you, but I think I lost it. Lost it in the fire. But
but anyway, guys, I tell you, I've enjoyed being with you. On that note, there was a parent that called me, and their son is a current Division II player,
Okay.
and the only thing that came out of their mouth was, "We need to get him in a Division I program." And
Right.
it took me about 10 minutes to figure it out, and I said, well, maybe he should be where he is because of his talent level. And it all came down to revenue share, knowing if you're D1, you're getting paid. And that's what a lot of parents, AAU coaches, and all of these guys and gals are hearing, and they know. And so it's a great time. I mean, I feel bad for the high school athletes who work hard, dedicated, who may not get a chance because rosters are being filled by transfer portal people. And, that's what's happening. So you've got to be a real blue chip athlete in high school now.
Yeah.
And so, but you also look at that, think about it on the other. It kind of works out, it kind of washes out at a certain point, because if you're not, as those kids in the D2 move up to D1, and some of those, you kind of just got to find your spot and then make the most of your opportunities,
But Adam, to your point too, the D2 schools, the junior colleges, and even some of the mid majors will benefit too, because there's not enough room for everybody. So you're going to find, even at the D2 level, the talent level has increased. Guys who tried to transfer out, didn't get picked up, can't go back, wind up in D2. And so the level there will increase too. So it's exciting for college athletics.
I can vouch for D2. I'm getting ready to start covering University of Tampa, who have won 3 national championships in a row, or 2 in a row in baseball. And by the way, they're off to a 5-0 record, and they just swept a team and only allowed 2 runs. So they're very good, and they're a D2 program. And when USF, fired their head coach of baseball, they hired Mitch Hannons, obviously, and this is Coach Hannons' second year, and I'm looking forward to seeing USF back on the baseball field in some later this month. But they tried to get Coach Urso away, and he's like, "Nah, I think I'm gonna stay right here. We got a lot of good athletes here, D2 athletes that could carry me to national championships in D2, and I could still make a lot of money." And University of Tampa is a private school too, so it's not cheap to go there to attend as a student. So but I agree, Tony. That's the whole thing too. You're right. Not everybody can go to D1. So these D2 schools are like, yeah, hey, you can't go there. Come here. You're going to be a starter. We got you, and then you never know. You might get that jump to D1 and go, hey, you know what? I've played it out. I played my freshman, sophomore year in D2, and some scout from a D1 school goes, hey, you know what? I think that kid will fit very well in our program. He comes up, she comes up, and bam, here comes the NIL money because they can do that. And I also, too, I think if they market themselves, other than I think a lot of kids look at it, like you said earlier, the stat thing, if you can say, no, I'm beyond the stats. This is what I can bring as a player. I can be a leader or a captain or whatever it might be. That's attributes that I don't care what coach you are. I would be like, yes, I want that kid. I want that kid on my team because I know they can be a leader and lead the underclassmen or even some of my upperclassmen to wins, to championships, to make more money for the university and more money for us in general. So
that's it. Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Well, and that's like to Tony's point earlier, he had a parent call him, and it's just about knowing who to get a hold of. You don't necessarily need to be scouted by a big time D1 school. You just need to know a guy like our man Tony here who knows people at USF. And he may not know, they may not have a spot at USF, but they know people at other schools who may be looking for somebody, and they say, yeah, no, Tony, we don't have any openings here, but Cincinnati, they need a shooting guard, and it's like, yeah, okay, then you get that you're like, you reach out to the people at Cincinnati, people say, yeah, we looked at his tape looks really good, he can do this and that, his profile looks really good, his stats look really good, he looks like a good fit for our program, get us in contact with him, and you don't know
what's going to happen. Adam, didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
Be ready for the European invasion as it relates to this topic, because back in the day, the guys would come over. The best players would always be in the NBA, and they'd be top picks in the draft. But guess what? Some of those guys now are going to start coming over and taking roster spots to play at St. John's, to be in New York City, to play, at North Carolina.
Definitely going to happen.
And they're coming over knowing that they're getting paid revenue share,
American money,
NIL, and the European players are much better now and getting better and better, and there's much more of them.
Well,
so be ready for that.
What about these NBA guys that are in the G League that all of a sudden decide, oh, I want to go back to school now and get my eligibility back and play.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just a guy at Alabama, Charles Bediako, that played 5 games, and then the NCAA came out and said, no, that's it, you're done.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot of that.
Happened.
And there's no guidelines right now. So, guys, the COVID year is really what got all this started,
Sure.
Because guys could get that extra year, and then, things happen, and then you can transfer. So, guys are playing 5-6 years of college basketball.
There was a guy that was at the University of Miami that was a tight end, Cam McCormick. He played 8 years.
Yeah.
And I remember because I was a freshman in college when he was going into his 3rd year at Miami.
Mm.
And I'm like, and then he graduated, I think it was last year or the year before. I'm like, okay, so now I'm out of school, and all of a sudden now you just had to graduate?
Yeah.
Well, if you can slow roll it.
Well, the problem with him is he had, I think it was 2 or 3 ACL injuries, which that granted him another year. And it like Tony said, the COVID year.
2020.
Yeah, and COVID gave him another year. So that's why he ended up in college for 8 years.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I'm so glad you had me on. And I just wanted to say, as it relates to USF, yesterday's event was really nice. And Bradley, thank you for sharing it with me.
You're very welcome.
I don't think I would have known about it had you not informed me. So I went over and I sent some questions over and connected with some people there and spoke, and so it was a great affair. But there's a lot more coming. USF, one of the things that was discussed was the importance of having a football stadium on campus. And of course, I was the only person in the room that could come close to helping them understand the magnitude from a student athlete's perspective, having been on the Sundome side when that opened. And so that was good conversation for a minute there with people. And it is a fascinating thing. And I think that you're going to see some great things happen. And, it's all good. And, Rob Higgins is just he's got the energy level you need. And I'm sure you'll meet him, Bradley, at some point, because he shows up at every event,
Well, I'm hoping to bump into him maybe on senior night, the last basketball game or the last regular season home game for us, before the tournament starts. Maybe I'll bump into him and I'll get a chance to shake his hand, take a photo with him. And I know who he is. I've heard him on the radio a bunch of times, and I guess I never got a chance. And again, I was literally within 5 inches of him and Derek Brooks at the Cure Bowl in Orlando, and I never just didn't have
if you saw him, what would you say to him, though?
To do them, but
if you can, here's a question: if you ever came across someone like that, what would you say to him?
I would just say thank you for what you're doing for the program and what you're doing for the university. So that's what I would say to him and Derek. I got a chance to meet Derek Brooks.
I have a time like saying I don't know what to say about him. I probably didn't forget who I was. That's what a record would be.
Yeah.
Like oh boy.
Well, as someone who has gotten to meet a couple of his heroes, I can say that I recorded what I said to him, so it was a lot of fun.
It's funny how time flies. Coach Hodgson from the basketball side, I had talked to him a couple of times, but when I finally met him, was at an event, and he was sharing that he likes looking at some of the banners in around campus, and certainly in the Yuengling Center, formerly the Sundome. And then I realized that the very first banner was one of the teams that I played on. He wasn't even born.
Not even born yet, huh?
He wasn't even born. So, it's funny. And, he's a unique person. You're going to like him. So just get ready. It's all about 2 new coaches. Hartline, of course, he'll get his love because football gets that love. Basketball gets their love, too. We're trying to get more people in the Yuengling Center to come on out. And it's increasing and doing better. But, I'd like to see it get back to the 10,000, 8, 9, 10,000 per game time,
Oh, sure, of course.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Have a good night. I appreciate you. And, go Bulls and go college athletics, because we're in a good time right now. Okay? Take care, guys.
Yeah, come back and see us again soon.
Thank you, Tony, for coming on with us. You're welcome anytime.
You're welcome anytime. And if you ever really want to learn the history of the USF athletic department in terms of how things developed into the Sundome and now moving forward to football, I did author a book, A Raging Bull, which is available in the USF bookstore. It's titled A Raging Bull. Subtitle is Chasing the Big Time. How ironic is that? And so, it's a great time. There's some great history, some tidbits. If you really want to learn the history of how things were back years before football, A Raging Bull Chasing the Big Time. You can find it online anywhere. Okay.
Before we let you go ahead and plug your documentaries real quick.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Adam. The Last Teardrop was a documentary that I stumbled upon. Actually, my youngest daughter was working on a project, and she was researching Michael Jackson. And through that, we discovered Jackie Wilson, who was a singer back in the day, was friends with Elvis and James Brown.
Teardrops.
You remember Jackie. So, but what happened is There was another young man that's singing and doing impersonations of Jackie Wilson music, and he got introduced to doing impersonations by Bruno Mars's father, and that that's how that whole started. So he joined the band, and he was just doing Jackie Wilson tributes. Well, he got so good that the Four Tops and some other bands got to know him and wanted to know where he'd come from, because he walked like Jackie, talked like Jackie, but they didn't know anything about him. Well, they researched him and talked to him, met him, discovered that he grew up in foster care and didn't know who his biological parents were. Well, lo and behold, he's the actual son of Jackie Wilson.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's a fascinating story. It's streaming. You can get it on YouTube Movies now. Tubi has it. Yeah, it's for free. Get it on YouTube Movies. The Last Teardrop. But anyway, so Bobby, he still performs, and they did a DNA test, 99.9%. Fascinating story. It'd be like imitating Elvis Presley and then finding out that Elvis was your father.
That's wild.
That's so cool. Jackie Wilson was good too, by the way. I listen to Jackie all the time. Good.
Jackie Wilson's great.
So that's The Last Teardrop. We're really proud of it. It's doing really well on the streaming circuit. And, interesting enough, USF's men's basketball coach, Brian Hodgson, grew up in foster care. He was adopted at 2 years old. And so we have that in common in terms of the movie I produced and directed and his lifestyle. I think I spooked him when I told him that. He said, "This has got to be a setup." I said, "At some point we'll talk, but that's a personal matter. But that's his life. He was foster care at birth for 2 years and adopted at 2 years old." So, but The Last Teardrop is the name of the documentary.
Very cool.
Okay, guys, take care.
Thank
you. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool, man. That was Jackie Wilson, man. I mean, if you know old music like Richie Valens and all them, that was that era of music. That era,
Richie Brown, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that was that era of music. That is how freaking cool is that? That you find out that he was your dad. That would be bizarre. Like, oh my God, that's my dad. Like, that was my dad. That's so cool. I'm definitely gonna have to take a look at that, because I watch YouTube all the time. I'm gonna have to look that up and take a look at that documentary about that. That's cool.
The Last Teardrop.
Guys, that was a cool interview. We haven't had one in a long time.
No, we haven't.
That was cool. Because the last one we had was a diabolical disaster.
Yeah,
we won't go there.
We can't win them all.
Lou, you hit the nail on the head on that one. You can't win them all.
No.
But we can talk about the Super Bowl. I think the writing on the wall. I think the arena was too big for Drake May. You could see that offense struggled. He had happy feet. That offensive line starting two rookie offensive linemen.
Campbell.
Yeah, getting pushed back into your quarterback.
I was watching, and I was going to send it to you, Brad. I was watching something the other day where somebody was talking about, Will Campbell's not a good left tackle. They need to move him to guard.
Yeah.
He could be an all-pro guard.
That's I've heard that too, but on the radio since the Super Bowl's over, and now we've kind of moved into the off season, and I know the draft is about a month and a half away or so, 2 months away. But yeah, I think that might happen. I think they might move him to guard and draft a tackle. That's just the way it is. But the one thing, and I posted this on Facebook, and I liked the meme, was Sam Darnold as a Seattle Seahawks quarterback helping his New York Jet versions of himself up off the ground, saying, "Hey, you are given, if given the chance with the right coaching and an offensive line and weapons, you can be the quarterback that everyone thought you were going to be coming out of college. And it just sometimes you, as a quarterback, you don't get that opportunity. When you look back at Derek Carr, who got sacked more times than any other quarterback statistically ever.
Well,
Yes.
Derek Carr, I saw it today. And this would be the most Jets thing to happen. Derek Carr's talking about coming out of retirement to play for the Jets.
Okay.
Really?
Good
Okay.
night.
Okay. Interesting. I mean,
And
where
sad.
did the Jets pick in the draft?
Well, because he has, I guess, one of the coaches they just hired has has ties to Derek Carr from his time in Vegas.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not thinking of Derek Carr. I'm thinking of his brother. Who is his brother?
David
Carr.
David,
That's the one I'm
right,
talking
right.
about, not Derek. He's the one that played for the Texans that got sacked like every snap. The poor kid couldn't even set his feet. So, meaning if you have the offensive line and the weapons that and the coaching, I mean, I would say look at the Patriots, look at Drake May. He had bad coaching.
Mm-hmm.
The year before they went 4-13, and then this year they go 14-3 because he has a coach and makes a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that,
No,
and I
didn't.
think the same thing that happened with
my question, Brad, and I want to know what you have to say. What should the Patriots do at wide receiver? Do you re-sign Stephon Diggs or do you let him walk and draft a receiver?
I think they draft because you have, I mean, he's getting up there. He's long in the tooth.
I mean, you have DeMario Douglas, you have Kyle Williams,
we got Booty. But they need to draft it. They need to draft one. I mean, I think the tight end position's pretty good with Henry. So we got that locked down. The running game is locked down with the two-headed monster, with Stevenson and Henderson.
I mean, would you take another tight end maybe in like the second or third round? Because Henry's not getting any younger, right?
Well, no. I mean, you can always add depth to your team. Obviously, you can obviously add that in there. And
who's on the free agency market too?
I was going to say there's like 100 free agents. I think I saw an article pop up the other day, or maybe earlier today or the other day, that the top 100 free agents that were out there. I think I heard on the radio.
Yeah, Fox News or Fox Sports.
Thank you. Who's the author, Bud, of that one?
Craig Allman.
Craig Allman. Yes, I listened to him on the radio this afternoon with T-Crass here locally in Tampa on 620. They were talking about the Bucks, obviously, because are they going to bring back Mike? Is Mike going to re-sign? If they do, what is the status with Max Crosby? Is he going to stay in with Las Vegas? Is he going to leave? What are they going to want?
I saw something today that this guy was trying to predict all the trades that are going to happen, and he thinks Max Crosby is going to get traded to the 49ers.
Interesting.
For what was the return?
3 first-round picks.
Okay.
I think I heard that.
And he thinks AJ Brown's going to get traded to. He didn't say who, but he said AJ Brown's going to get traded, and the Eagles are going to draft a receiver.
Okay.
Which I would agree with. It's pretty much a done deal that AJ Brown's probably going to get moved.
Well, we talked about that, Bud, on Tuesday, that we thought that he was going to get moved. But yeah, speaking of that, I saw earlier today, not to change topics, but to the WWE, Chelsea Green got hurt, and she was in a match for a spot in Elimination Chamber. And somebody mentioned today, who was her character in TNA with the bride and the messed up makeup?
Oh,
I don't remember what her
Laurel Van Ness.
There you go.
Laurel Van Ness.
Oh.
Someone said that she should come out of injury as Laurel Van Ness. That she should bring that character to the WWE if writing will allow that. But I think she does so well as Chelsea Green. Why would you change
Yeah,
back?
that little pest heel
Yeah.
that complains about everything. I just love when she picks on Nick Aldis.
Yeah.
Because Nick Aldis won't give her what she wants.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't see why she
Yeah.
would need to change characters. She
she
worked
got
really.
hurt. So who won that match? Did Stratton win or did what's his name win?
Well, she lost.
Broken
Her
arm.
and
Ethan.
Ethan Page lost the AAA mixed tag team titles
Okay.
to, I think it was Mr. Iguana and somebody else.
Okay.
Can we talk about, and we talked about it on Tuesday, Brad. I want to get Adam and Lou's opinion.
Yes.
The Becky Lynch and AJ Lee.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I watched that clip 2 or 3 times. I have to laugh every time I watch it. Every time.
AJ goaded her into
No match.
AJ goaded Becky into that match.
Yeah.
Well,
She threw the fishing line out, and she said, "Guys, is Becky gonna bite?"
Well,
I'll reel it in a little bit.
Did you see that she's in the ring with the belt before AJ comes out, and she's like, the crowd is saying it, and she's gritting her teeth, like, "Don't you dare come out!" And then AJ's music hits, and she's like, "You gotta be freaking kidding me! You're gotta be kidding me!" She's coming out here now. Now I got to deal with her now face to face. So I'm happy we'll see that Elimination Chamber. I really am.
I hope Becky loses.
So do I.
Well, if that's the case, then AJ is more than just part-timer, I guess, if that's the chronologically.
My question is, when is Seth coming back?
He's already back. He's the Black Scorpion.
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's him, but people are trying to say it's Grayson Waller. Sitting in as Seth until Seth actually comes back.
Well, but there are certain people that have won a spot in the Elimination Chamber, right? There are spots that have been taken. Randy's one of them, right? Randy Orton won a spot. Who else in the men's?
RKO and Solo.
Yeah.
Which, if you see the clip of that, Solo calls it. He's going for his spike, and he sees Randy coming.
RKO.
but Solo's got his own issues. And we talked about it on Tuesday, Brad. Solo's got his own issues with the Wyatt Six.
He does.
Taking the lantern. That's a no-no.
That's a no-no.
That's a big no-no.
Yeah, we talked about that last
guess supposedly the MFTs turned up missing because Solo was looking for them and he couldn't find them.
Okay, so it's Randy Orton and LA Knight are on the men's side, and Stratton and Ripley are on the.
So Tiffany Stratton won that 3-way then with Chelsea Green and Lash Legend. Okay, I was curious on who.
Tiffy time.
They say she's back. They say Tiffy's back, so we're on Tiffy time, as they say when she's there.
Tiffy time.
I wonder if that finish was changed because
Chelsea got hurt.
Chelsea broke her ankle.
Yep. What did you guys? Did you see what happened?
I tell you who else plays their character really well. Ethan Page on NXT.
Oh, I love Ethan Page. He's everything MJF
He's
thinks
so
he is.
cocky.
You gotta be cocky in that business.
He's so cocky, and you know what? I hated Ricky Saints when he first turned heel, but now I love heel Ricky Saints. He's just as cocky as Ethan Page.
Ethan Page is everything that MJF thinks he is.
Exactly.
And I can't.
Has a title match at Grand Slam Australia
against Brody King.
Against Brody King.
I hope he gets squashed just like he did on Dynamite last week.
I hope Brody King takes the title away from him.
Yeah.
But there's rumors out there that Buddy Matthews might be coming back.
Interesting.
I have a funny feeling MJF will win, and the only reason I say that is because
he's going to cheat
to win the other match, and it'll be Page and MJF at the next big PLE, or if I'm saying
Revolution.
That right. Yeah, for AEW.
Well, Andrade is going against Hangman, and Andrade is part of the Don Callis family. Mm-hmm. And as we spoke of on Tuesday, Brad, the Don Callis family doesn't quite like to win clean.
Yeah, fair. Yep.
They use screwdrivers. Right. They use exposed turnbuckles.
Well, they're going to lose the belt. I think what's his name's going to win the belt from Takeshita. I can never pronounce that name right.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Moxley's going to beat
John Moxley.
Yeah, Moxley's going to beat him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And I think, and then I saw this today, and I don't know if I believe it. People are trying to say, "Oh, Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's contract's up in, and they're going to go to AEW to be with Ciampa." I'm not so sure about that.
Well, that sounds sure about it either.
That'll be a wait and see thing to see how that ends up being.
I do like Ciampa in AEW though.
He's the TNT champion, right? Is that what we talked about?
No, he lost it back to Kyle Fletcher.
No way! I thought he.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
On Dynamite on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yesterday. Okay.
So it's gonna be Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe in a ladder match at Grand Slam Australia on Saturday.
Okay. Was that a new match, but that had just been added because there were only 4 or 5
yesterday.
On the card. Okay, so that's a new one they've added. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
The match I'm looking forward to, we talked about it, was the Shafir and Wheeler Yuta match. The hair versus hair.
Hair versus
loser
hair.
Gets shaved.
Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy.
The Orange Man.
Yeah, that's what she calls him. The Orange Man. I love Tony when she says that.
I'm tagging berate herself.
Tony's the best at downplaying and downgrading herself and anybody that she's in contact with. Tony's always Tony. Yeah, Tony's just a show by herself. She's a show by herself.
Adam, you need to look it up after we're done.
Okay.
Tony Storm. Brad, we've talked about it so many times. Her and Mariah May is the perfect feud.
If you ever watch any of her press conferences after the PLEs, I mean, yeah, I've never heard a woman ever downgrade herself more than she does, or how she comes off. It's hilarious how she comes off. But you guys were talking earlier about the NXT champion. Should we say his name? And maybe
Joe Hendry
as the champion. Okay. Joe Hendry is the NXT champion. So
well, yeah, but now he's got an issue with the Vanity Project, apparently.
Oh, does he? Is that what was on?
They attacked him on Tuesday.
Hey, he's got gold. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
he's climbed to the top of the mountain. I can't take it away from him.
Nope.
Yeah.
He might lose the top. He might lose the title at some point. Obviously, he will. He'll have to give it up at some point, but he's still a champ right now. And talk about a meteoric rise. Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years ago when he first came on, his mid to late 30s, and nobody had really heard of him. And he has that catchy theme song, and it blows up.
Yeah,
And he's working,
you listen to it one time, and it's just
and it's right there. It's right there.
In your head
And
forever.
it's like what they're trying to do with Kit Wilson on SmackDown, which poor Kit Wilson, he got absolutely destroyed by Obafemi.
That's putting it lightly. Oba messed him up. Femi messed him up. Yeah.
He left him laying there in a heap.
Yeah. Oba could have bent him in half, and it would have been, just as entertaining.
Who is this? Oh, Kit Wilson. Oh, just another measly day at the office for Oba.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in a back alley with him.
Or a front alley.
Or
I wouldn't want to be alone with him at all.
Right.
He's frightening.
Well, for Trick Williams, you got to pay your dues, and that's the first.
Kit Wilson.
Him too.
Trick. I mean, I could see Trick winning a title soon. Maybe the U.S. title.
It could be a possibility, but you got to pay your dues, and getting squashed in your first time out is it's a rite of passage for a lot of guys.
The thing with Kit Wilson though is he was in a tag team, and the only reason they're giving him a singles run right now is because Elton Prince is out with a neck injury, and they don't know it might be as serious as Big E.
And Big E retired, as you guys saw the other day. He
officially died.
Well, I was going to ask you guys real quick with the Royal Rumble, with Brock Lesnar eliminating Obafemi. Do you see a match in the future?
I've already been seeing that they're planning Oba versus Brock for WrestleMania.
Okay. Would you guys think that'd be a night one match or a night two match?
I'll say night one.
Probably night one, because we know one of the main events is going to be Roman versus Punk.
Yeah, then you're going to have
Reigns.
Who's ever got.
You might have Liv versus whoever she chooses, Stephanie Valkyrie,
which we talked about Tuesday. She's going to lose no matter what.
Or Jade Cargill.
Yeah, she's going to lose no matter which one she picks.
I think we all mentioned that last week. I think they're keeping the belt warm until
Naomi comes back, or somebody from the NXT.
Not Naomi, Bianca Belair. So she comes back.
Yeah, Bianca. Or you know what? I could see them giving it to Sol Ruca when she comes up to the main roster.
Do you guys think that maybe Lash Legend might be the next champion in that division? Because she did pretty well in the Royal Rumble.
She did.
Could be.
Well, Zarya, it seems like we're heading toward a Zolruka split.
Okay.
And that's everything from NXT this week. So I'm going to say this. Ava was a good GM, but I think Robert Stone is going to do a good job as the interim until they find somebody. Everybody's like, oh, we want William Regal back.
Is it really Regal on AEW?
No, he's back in WWE now.
When did that happen?
I think it was January of last year.
Really?
He's in I don't want to say higher up role, but he's like, he helps out with he's a talent evaluator for WWE now. And people are like, oh, we want him back in NXT. Yeah, that's not going to necessarily happen. I don't think he wants to be a GM again. Yeah. The only really good thing he ever did at NXT is his War Games.
Shall we play a game?
I heard that one.
He was a pretty good wrestler in his time. I know he brought a lot of young guys up, got in the ring with them, and I know a lot of people.
He's a very technical wrestler.
Yes, Correct.
He had a few good feuds when he wrestled.
He did.
One of them was Santino Marella.
Yeah.
Who is awesome on TNA. I gotta put that out there.
Fantastic.
He is awesome on TNA.
Indeed.
The way that he
Indeed.
pronounces his last names is amazing.
Yes.
John Cena.
John Cena.
John
You have
Cena.
a very big mouth, John Cena.
Yeah.
I would like nothing more for Christmas than to shut it. Shamos.
Yeah, I've never seen a
Like
guy
your tea sweet.
that plays that role so well than Santino Marella does. But
Shamos.
yeah, I
or
Kelly.
I saw a clip today, guys, on YouTube about AJ Styles and how there were a couple guys that thanked him. One of them that got really emotional was Finn Balor. I guess Finn and him were close.
Yeah, New Japan.
Yeah, he said
they're
that
both part of the Bullet Club.
Bullet Club. He mentioned, Finn said, "Hey, I got to New Japan. You were the guy there, and then when we came to WWE, you were one of the first guys that helped me get through, get up in the business." So he was him and what was the other one?
Nakamura.
Nakamura was one of them, and the other guy who was with Kevin Owens. I think of his dang name now. Guy with the red hair.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. Thank you. Those three were the most emotional ones. That
it was Sami Zayn on the Indies was El Generico.
Yeah, 22 years old.
But yeah, happened to watch that today on YouTube, and
I'm surprised Gallows and Anderson didn't have something to say about Styles.
Yeah, true.
The Good Brothers.
Yeah.
They had a couple different runs with WWE with Styles.
Are those two still active, or are they?
Yes, they're on the Indies right now.
Oh, Indies. Okay.
I don't think they'll ever sign with another company. They were in AEW back when Kenny Omega was the belt collector, and he was with Don Callis.
Oh, before Sasha Banks became the belt collector?
Yeah, well, Mercedes
Moné. That's what she's now. That's her.
Which she's lost all of her titles.
Yeah, that's not shocking. That's not shocking.
Not us anyway.
Oh, by the way, guys, Tony just texted me and he said, "Thanks for the opportunity. I hope it all followed the way you wanted it." And I told him yes. It was a very good interview.
Absolutely.
So yes. I interviewed him on a show that I did a long time ago with Larry Frank. We used to do a show weekly about USF. And he sent me an autographed copy of that book. I have it.
Oh, cool.
I have The Raging Bull, and I haven't got a chance to read it, but it is about the original USF basketball team when it was the Sun Dome before. Now it's the Yingling Center. How the Sun Dome got built, like they're building the football stadium currently, coming in as a basketball player. So yeah, it was kind of cool how he said it. He goes, "Yeah, I'm the only one that can kind of relate to that because it happened to me." Coming to USF, I would love to interview Charles Bradley, who was one of his teammates. I got to get him on, text him on Facebook, and see if he'll come on and talk to us about playing at USF as a basketball player. And we could talk to us about Tony as a teammate. But yeah, I mean, do you guys want to call it there and call it a show? Or
sure.
All right.
We can call it there.
All right.
Go ahead, Lou, and talk to us about your show, sir.
All right. Well, of course, we're on Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m. EN Sports Show. We'll recap the Super Bowl, the highs and the lows. I think there were more lows than there were highs, though. NBA All-Star Weekend we'll discuss. I think probably in two parts because some of the events will be on during the show, unfortunately. I have no control over that, though, but Yeah, but thank you, NBC, for lousing that up, of course. For you racing enthusiasts, we'll take predictions of the Daytona 500, which is this Sunday. Sunday, get ready for the race of the century. Oh, boy. I had to do it. Yeah. Also, oh, yeah, and the Basketball Hall of Fame, the nominations have been announced, so I'll cover that as well. Only if you're going to make it. There's 21 nominations, but I think 5 or 6 make it, so you might want to choose your predictions very carefully, of course. I've also the Olympics, of course, will take care of that, and UFC WWE wrestling as well. Also, your thoughts and comments. This date in sports history, the ridiculous sign of the week, and I've got a doozy on that one. Thoughts and comments. The inspiring story of the week, and Saturday is Valentine's Day, so I'll also take if anybody's got love out there, bring it up, for Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day wishes and comments. And we'll play songs with nothing but love songs. Nothing but love songs. Oh boy. Thank you, WPAX in New York, for doing that. Okay. We'll show my age here. So
he's here all week, folks.
All month. So tune in to the Love Fest and Sports Show on Saturday. Okay. From 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Number to call is 512-543-4662 or 1-800-Dr. Love. Oh, okay. All right.
And if you don't have one, call 1-800-Dr. Feelgood. He's the one that makes you feel all right.
And of course, if Casey Caseman out there, we'll send you a long distance dedication as well. Oh, okay. Hello there. Look, you guys knew it was 2 days without. You knew it was going to do something like that anyway. Come on, you know that.
We walked into it.
The show. Come on.
We walked ourselves into that corner.
You certainly did, and you should know that by 8 years from doing the show right now. Come on.
I'm not part of it.
You are now.
I'm just here for the amusement.
One of us.
8 years in the show, we still gotta get it right.
I want to thank Tony Grier again for coming on, and these 3 guys for making this day of the week so much fun. We'll be back next week, guys. Same time, 8:00. But yeah, it's been fun. We'll be talking. We talk about the Olympics next week as they close out. And anything else that pops up between now and then.
Second half of the hockey season.
Second half of the hockey season. We can talk about
sure.
Training getting started. I know pitchers and catchers are reporting, so we can talk about that as well.
Baseball for me.
But I want to thank the men and women of our armed services and our first responders. Thank you so much for doing what you do. We'll be back next week. This has been the Walker Report. We are part of NGSC Sports. Guys, remember the website. It's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. Until then, I am the sports star Bradley Walker. Until next Thursday, everyone have a safe weekend. Happy Valentine's Day to all the Valentine. Everyone out there, peace.
Good night.
Send it.
Not print, send it.
Right.